Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, The Baking Diva. I don't know how well I'm going to get through this video, so it may be short. But first of all, most of you that know me know my husband passed away on April 8th. It'll be 4 weeks this coming Tuesday. And it feels like it was just yesterday. So before I get too emotional, I want to thank everyone who showed me such support during that difficult time. There were over 5,000 views on my YouTube video. So many people sent prayers, cards, mass cards, flowers, gifts, food. It really meant so much to me and my family because we really were going through a very difficult time. My husband did pass with cancer. He was given 6 to 8 months. He only lasted 2. The last 2 weeks we did have hospice here. He wasn't in the hospital, and they were great, but it was very bittersweet because we watched him every day go downhill more and more and more. He just cared about me and the family, and you'll have to excuse the tears because I understand it's part of the grieving process, and they tell you if you want to cry, cry, because tears just mean you love the person, and if you didn't love them, you wouldn't have any tears, and I have plenty. So anyway, he did pass away at home holding my hand, had my hand on his face, and it is an image I will never forget. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about today is grieving. Now I know that it's only been 4 weeks, and 4 weeks in the grieving process, from what I hear, is like nothing. It's like baby grieving. Everybody grieves in their own way and in their own time. Everybody's different. But yeah, I will tell you, I cry every day. I talk to my daughter on the phone. We cry together. My adult son lives here. When he sees me crying, he cries. So it's a crying fest. And then there's other times that I feel good, and I say to myself, gee, I'm feeling pretty good today. And then I'm like, later on in the day, for no rhyme or reason, I'm sobbing. But from what I've heard and what I've read, this is all perfectly normal. I brought sunglasses with me in case I wanted to put them on. I may still do that. I have been trying to keep myself busy. In the beginning, you know, people are all gathered around and you have a lot of support. You have the wake, the funeral, and then when that's over, things quiet down, and that, I think, is when the reality really sets in, and that's where I'm at right now. My husband was really a great guy, great husband, and a great father. And of course I'm gonna cry because I miss him. I wish he was here to talk to, but I know that that is not, going to happen. So I have been trying to keep myself very busy. There was so much paperwork to do. And one thing I want to say is, as much as you feel bad for people, that are going through this, I really don't think that anyone can truly understand what it feels like unless you go through it yourself. And I'm convinced of that. I've been trying to wear a waterproof mascara because the other day I had one of my meltdowns, and when I went upstairs and looked in the bathroom mirror, I said, oh my God, I had black all over my face. It was terrible. But they say with grieving, there's steps to it, and it's a process. And I've been on YouTube, and I've been on Facebook, and I've read books, and some people are grieving for years. Some people get over it easy. I don't think you ever get over it. I think time helps you deal with it a little better, but I don't think it's anything you ever get over. And my husband and I were married 56 years. It would be 57 in September. And we dated for 6 years before we got married. We were high school sweethearts. You all know that follow me. So that's a lifetime, or pretty much a lifetime. So how do you get over that? You don't. And you have your memories. People say, well, hold on to the good memories and you'll feel better. But right now it doesn't matter whether they're good memories or bad memories. They're all making me feel terrible. So I am in, I guess, stage 1 of the grieving process. I know that I'm going to probably need some help with this. So I did sign up with a group called Grief Share. I read about them. It's not a religious thing, but they're held mostly in churches. Unfortunately, the ones in my area are doing it online now, and I would have preferred to do it in person, to be able to talk in person to people that have been through it. And the way the Grief Share works is, you sign up, it's free. You can buy a workbook for $20, which I did. And they give you a special link. You join a group, in your area or whatever. In the first half hour, they have professionals in all different categories of grief that speak to you. And then after that, I think it's almost like a Zoom. You are on the screen and you can see other people and you can talk if you choose. Well, it's supposed to be once a week from 7 to 9 on a Thursday. This Thursday, it seems like the one that facilitates the group had a granddaughter, so they had to cancel the first meeting. But you can go on anytime and watch any of them, and you can watch them over and over and whatnot. So I kind of missed out on the first one. I purchased a book. A friend of mine, actually a good friend of my husband, wanted to know how I was doing, and she recommended a book, and she said it's supposed to be one of the best. The book was used by professionals during 9/11, and it's supposed to be an excellent book on grief. Actually, the woman that wrote it lost her husband when they were on vacation on a running or a hiking little expedition. And she was young, and that's what gave her the idea of writing the book. So I actually purchased the book on Amazon, and I bought my daughter one, and I bought one for a friend. They were inexpensive. You could get hardcover or soft cover. I'll put the name of the book in the more area if anybody wants to look at it. But I don't know. I think these are just my own personal thoughts. I think if you lose a loved one and you're young, it's terrible. But you do have your whole life ahead of you, and in many cases, you do maybe meet somebody, or you do, remarry. And I don't mean just young, I mean, could be older too. In my case, after being married 56 years, my husband was my life. This is what happens when I talk about him, I start crying. But he was my whole life. And at this point, I have absolutely zero interest in meeting anyone else, dating anyone else, or marrying anyone else. And it's interesting because now I guess I'm considered a widow. And I hate that word. I really do. I'm sure many of you out there disagree with me because they have to label us with something. And if it wasn't widow, it would probably have to be single. And when you go fill out forms in an office or a doctor's office, you have to check off on all these forms. And I don't consider myself a widow. If you look up in the dictionary what the true meaning of widow is, it's not that good. And it's where the word widow originated. So, I don't know. I'm not calling myself a widow. I don't care what anybody thinks. Anybody can call themselves whatever they want. But I'm not calling myself a widow. I'm just a person whose husband passed away. Call it whatever you want. I continue to wear my wedding band, and I will. And I have a gold chain. I didn't put it on now. And I have my husband's gold wedding band on the chain, and I wear that most days around my neck. I consider myself still married. It's unfortunate. My husband was taken away. I guess heaven needed a new angel. I don't know. But it's difficult. And just because he's not here, he's somewhere else, it doesn't mean for me that I feel any different. I still feel like he's my husband, and I always will. So like I say, that's just the way I feel about it. It's hard. It's hard when you lose a spouse. And I know I read somewhere where they said that of a list of maybe 10 things, the top 2, the first one is losing a spouse, and the second one was losing a child. And like I say, none of us can understand any of it until we go through it. Because I'm going through it now. I'm going through the grieving process, and I'll tell you, I think I'm going to be going through it for quite a while. There's some days, like I say, I'm feeling pretty good. I kept myself very busy in the beginning. I had so much paperwork to fill out for insurance and pensions and Social Security, and just there was so much stuff to fill out. My husband, he had 2 file cabinets. I went through all the file cabinets. We had many files with all the doctors he was seeing. I got rid of all of that. There was no need to keep it any longer. That was keeping me busy. I've seen on Facebook where people have made comments like, well, what time was the right time to maybe go through your husband's or wife's clothing? I don't think there's any right time. It's whatever the right time is for you. So I did go through a lot of my husband's drawers. When he was a school teacher for many years and he was a college professor, he always believed in wearing a jacket, shirt, and tie to school. Not all the teachers did, but he did. He always looked professional. And I think I mentioned it in my previous video. He had so many ties. So I went on Etsy, and there were a few women on there who make like throw pillows out of the ties, and they have like that burst in the middle. And they usually ask you to send them about 25 ties. So I did that, and the woman was wonderful, and she just sent me back a picture of how the pillow came out, and she's shipping it to me. So I'm going to put it in my family room just as a throw pillow on the sofa. And even though my husband went to work always dressed up, when he was home, he was always in his t-shirts, his team shirts or whatever. And he had a lot of those too. So I think I'm going to make one of those, or I'm not going to make it. I'm going to have made one of those memory quilts. There's so many people on that site online, Etsy, that make them. And I'm going to pick out all the shirts and the size I want, and I think I'm going to do that also. I think just it'll be a nice memory for him. I feel really terrible for men or women who have lost their spouses and live alone, and there's many. It has to be excruciatingly lonely, and I can't imagine it. I'm very, very fortunate that my adult son lives with me. I don't know, I don't believe in coincidences, and they say everything happens for a reason. But he actually moved in here a few years ago, and we have a big house, and having him here is just a godsend. I'm not here alone, and his kids come over. He's divorced, so he has, custody of the kids, so they're over here a lot, and you see them on my videos. So it's not quite so lonely. And I'm so thankful for him. My daughter, she's not taking it well either. None of us are. When I get on the phone with her, it's a crying fest. We're both crying. But they tell you, don't hold it in and cry if you need to cry. What did I read? I think crying is because your heart is in such pain that you can't talk, so it comes out in the form of tears. And I believe that. My extra pillow on my bed is my best friend at night. Lots of tears on that pillow. So anyway, I just wanted to thank everybody, and I wanted to tell you, people have asked, are you okay? I'm okay. I mean, every day gets a little tiny bit better, except for the crying. And the crying comes out of nowhere. I was food shopping yesterday. If I'm going down the aisle and I happen to see something that my husband liked, or I would pick up for my husband, I was ready to burst out in tears right in the middle of the food store. I went to dinner the other night with a good friend of mine, hi Maureen, and we had a nice time, but midway through the dinner, I forgot what we were talking about, and there came the tears rolling down. And she lost her husband 4 years ago from COVID, and you know what that was like, so she knows what I'm going through, and it doesn't bother her. I told my girlfriend when she calls me on the phone, and I've told some other people, don't say, how are you doing and how's it going? No, because the minute they say that to me, I'm going to start crying, and I can't help it. And they say, oh, it's okay. So I said, from now on, don't do that. Just say, what's up? Or how's it going? I'm better off. Because you know what it is? People try to be kind and helpful. But the kinder they are to me, And the nicer they are to me, it makes me worse. I just start crying more. So I guess this is part one of my grieving process. I'm going to do a lot of crying. Like I say, I held my husband's hand, and I touched his face, and I looked at him when he took his last breath, and I can't get that image out of my head. He looked very peaceful, but you just say to yourself, and it's all the questions you keep asking yourself, how can somebody be here 1 minute and the next minute they're not here? It just seems so strange. It just seems so weird. And the thought that you're not going to be able to talk to him, he's not going to come in the house, or something happened that day that you want to tell him about, and he's not here to talk to. It's so sad. So I'm hoping to get back to my baking. I'm not going to be crying and baking at the same time. So I have a couple of nice recipes I want to make for you. So some people might say, how can you do that the way you're feeling? For me personally, it's a good thing to do. I've always been like this. When I'm going through anything hard or difficult, I have to keep myself busy. If I keep myself busy, it occupies my mind, and I don't sit down crying all day and feeling sorry for myself. So I still have to clean out clothes, in my husband's closets, but I'll do them when I'm up to it. And they tell you, just do a little bit. If you do it for 20 minutes or a half hour and then you start feeling funny, stop, walk away from it. You can always go back another time. So I have a lot of things I want to do, and I do enjoy making my YouTube videos. So that will keep me busy, keep me occupied. The editing takes time, and it'll give me something to do. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. But for anybody that has been through what I'm going through now, or will be going through it, they tell you don't be too rough on yourself, because all the questions you're asking yourself, all the crying you're doing, it's completely normal. It's part of the grieving process, and grieving can take a long time. There are people that have said, well, after a year I felt better, and then there are other people that have said, my spouse died 8 years ago and I still cry every day. So I say, if I want to cry, I'm going to cry. If I want to go in my room and close the door and be left alone, well, that's what I'm going to do. If I'm out with somebody and the tears come rolling down, it is what it is. And if they don't understand it, well, then they're not friends, and it's, their problem. So anyway, I miss my husband more than you will ever know. I can't talk about him because I'm still too fragile, and it hurts too much. But he was my soulmate. I loved him. So my husband was my soulmate. Like I say, I've known him since I was 15, and we met in high school. He was my life. Just because he's gone and he lives in another zip code, it doesn't mean I don't still feel married to him. We didn't do anything different. He died. As far as I'm concerned, we're still married. And I hope to God someday, when it's my turn to go, we'll meet again. As I told him, I said, I'm going to tell you right now, if you go before me, when my turn comes, you better come right down here and get me. And he said, I will, and he laughed. So anyway, I just wanted to bring you up to date on how I was doing. So, good and bad days. Right now, mostly bad, but I'm hoping as time goes on, I can come back another time and do part 2 of my grieving, and it won't be quite so bad. So thank you so much for supporting me, supporting my family and my channel. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And if you're not already a subscriber, I'd love to have you. Just hit that little subscribe and the bell, because I don't talk about grieving all the time. I know I'm a smart person, and I know that the holidays will be coming, and there'll be the firsts of everything. The first birthday of his without him here. The first Thanksgiving. The first Christmas. And I love the holidays, but these firsts are not going to go well. But I'll do my best, because I have children and I have grandchildren, and they count on me. So anyway, thank you for watching. I love each and every one of you. I did have my sunglasses. I was prepared to put them on. I figured you wouldn't see the tears. But then I figured, what the heck, you might as well see the real me. I'm not going to get on here and pretend I'm doing great when I'm not. So anyway, I will see you all very soon. I love you. Toodles!